Yo, what's up? It's the kid, Aku Korea, or Aku for short, however you want to address me. Um, Today I just wanted to like sit and talk. Today, I don't know, I haven't done one of these videos or styles of videos ever before, so bear with me if I like tend to ramble. But yeah, firstly, shout out ATG 500, aka Hilo. Shout out Onikane. Shout out Keiko. Aether. Shout out Slime Girls, and shout out Sierra, because not for them, I wouldn't even be making this video. Um, you might be wondering like, what video is this? Well, I would be talking about Dark and Granblue Fantasy, right? So, bro, Dark sucks. I'm gonna keep it a stack. Dark is terrible, by the way. So it's not like bad, right? But comparatively to other Ellies, it's definitely the weakest, especially when it comes to HL content like Fa 3 or like Hexa or Sub HL, right? But I guess for now, also my Granblue is like crazy loud. Hold up. Anyway, um, yeah, no. So Dark is good, but just comparatively to other elements, I feel like it's definitely lackluster for sure. Um, why do I think that? Well, performance-wise, in terms of like DPS, DPT, survivability, sustain, Dark's just not it in HL raids comparatively to like say Wind or Water or even Fire and Earth, especially. Um, so in terms of like investing into Dark, it almost feels bad because you're just investing into an element that will essentially get you like a guaranteed pass into these raids, right? Because like Hexa, for example, you have to have like all 6 Ellies or you need to solo the raid. So if you're trying to get into the raid, obviously playing Dark or Fire, those are some of the more like looked for elements because nobody wants to play them, right? Because I feel like Fire, although it's strong, you kind of need the tools for it to be like that comparatively to like Wind or Water, where you can kind of get away with some more cheaper variants of like grids in the sort, summons as well. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like from a financial investment standpoint, Dark's definitely not the play. I mean, at best, Bullman's a subtixable character. You can just make 6 for free. And then you can just add a +1, and you can like buy an Aresh with gold runes, and you can pretty much one pawn most of the content in the game, whether it's sandbox or like events or anything like that, which is nice. Dark has its value there. So I think if you were gonna do something like that, sure, Dark is probably one of the most prominent elements to one pawn. But to be honest, even though that is a big part of the game, is it really something you want to like heavily invest into just for that? I don't think so, because there's ways you could do that with other elements as well that takes a bit more work and effort. But I mean, if you're invested in the element, then you'll find a way, right? Time investment wise, I think Dark actually saves you time again because you don't have to sit there and wait for a Dark player, or I guess talking about Fire here, you don't have to wait for like a Fire player if you like, wanted to play Fire, right? So I think Dark does save you some time in that regard. And of course, as I said before, it's good at one pawning things like sandbox and events and whatnot. So you do get through those types of content like rather quickly, right? Um, my next point, I guess, the fun factor of Dark. I feel like Dark is Dark is fun, but it's like getting progressively less fun, if that makes sense. In the sense that one pawning, it's one pawning no matter what element you use, no matter what characters you use. You're just clicking orange button and like killing something on repeat, which is, you know, it's tedious, but it's part of Granblue. I've come to love it actually, like when it comes to like boxing during Guild War, or like farming meat, or just like 1,000 boxing events, stuff like that. Like I've just come to love it, right? But yeah, in terms of playing like HL raids, honestly, it sucks not being able to not carry, but you have to put in so much more work compared to other elements, and then there's just some things you just can't do like at all without like properly structuring your team like to a T, right? As opposed to something like Wind, for example, you fucking slot up like Kaguya, Cow, Cat's Uncap, CT 150 in some raids, especially HL raids, and you just fucking mash on now with Chrysor's class update, you can match with that. You can match with Kengo and really be brain off, right? And you don't have to worry about clearing anything because you know CT 150, Faded Chain, Omen cancel. There's really not much you can't cancel with Win because you can obviously do hits if you say play Chrysor and you main hand Evanescence, right? Grand Naru's weapon, and you have like all those hits. Yeah, Cal 2 for hits. I think Kaguya gives. I can pull up Kaguya here. I think Kaguya also gives Echo. Yeah, she'll get 30% bonus when damage one time to an ally that has this effect, which this effect is permanent, I believe. And normal attack get 2 hit damage to random foes, so even more hits there. Whatever Kaguya has this, which I mean, yes, what is this? 5 out of 12 uptime. Oh, it's indefinite actually. Interesting. She also gains 30% bonus damage, which there you go, more hits. And then also her weapon, right? You benefit a lot from autoing because it's normal attack damage, so having all the access to Echo and whatnot, definitely helps a lot. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of fun, I do enjoy that raids aren't just a complete pushover. Like for example, right? Like you see me like full autoing UBHL. This is old content, right? It's easy. But let's say it was like Hexa or sub HL, for example, right? Although Dark can now steamroll that content, sure. But, you know, before when the raid first came out, like, it was a little rough, especially, I don't remember if Halmel came out, before Sub HL was released. I think she did, but, oh no, I think she didn't actually. I'm not sure, but, you know, don't fact check me on that. But, you know, even then with Halmel in that raid, sure she's nice, but I don't know, it's just, I feel like Dark just kind of barely has the tools to get stuff done, or like you have to throw a lot at the boss to get stuff done. And while that can be fun at times, it definitely is annoying at the same time, because it's not fun, like for example, Fa 3, it's not fun limiting the turns you take, right? Like you kind of don't want to push past turn 20. I was reading somewhere, like on the, I think I have a tweet pulled up here. I don't think this comp specifically has to wait or try to play under 20 turns, but you kind of just want to move minimally, because for one, Dark doesn't really have good sustain, right? You have Lich healing, which is like not too great, and you have Fedial skill 1, which forces you to Faded Chain, which forces you to Ogi, which causes lockout, which means you can't really play the game if you're in lockout, while other players, for example, like Earth players, they have Hunting, they're probably not Oging very much, or not nearly as much as Dark, and they're definitely not going to be chaining as hard as Dark is chaining, so they're just mashing, doing tons of damage while also not worrying about dying because they get sustained from, say, Kaim creating potions, or, you know, just calling Lucy, or, I believe Earth Shaman, she has, like, hostility up and takes a lot of damage reduction on her, yeah, what is this? We saw hostility, 99%, yeah, Kin attack, yeah, so she absorbs a lot of damage for free, right, without having to worry about anything conditional, such as, take a look at Dark, right? Lich, you have to click her 1 with her 2 to get the heal, right? Because you need the Death's Grace. Fedial, you have to continually Ogi to get Faded Chain to get the shield, right? So, things like that, I hardly even call them mechanics. It's not really fun being like, oh, let me click Lich's 2-1. Which also, you have to Ogi for that to lower the turn, like, or lower the cooldown on that as well. Which means that you're also, you know, furthering lockout, so you're furthering not being able to play the game. And you might argue, like, oh, like, maybe you do find it fun, but I don't know, it's just, we've been using the same grants for a while now. Even, like, with the new addition of, like, say, Citala, right? I can pull this up, I'll just pop this out. Right? The addition of Citala, she's quite strong in, well, I guess it'd be wrong to say she's quite strong, but she's definitely viable in some of the endgame content, like Sub HL, Hexa, Fa 3. For example, this comp, I rate out into my Citala, so she gets bonus TA to clear that TA labor for Fa. Her skill 1 also gives guaranteed TA whenever you Ogi to get the additional effect. I believe it's a 50% boosted TA rate in general, so if you do end up having things in your grid such as like Serb Gun or Parazonium that boost multi-attack, it's quite nice. Um, of course her all ally, all sub, and then dodge all is quite nice as well, assuming the foe doesn't have God Sight or something, because then she'll just probably get one shot. Um, and even this, right? Like, let's talk about this for a second. Like, the chance of lowering damage taken, damage mitigation, like the refresh, that's all cool, and like that's all sustained. But again, you have to Ogi for the 1 turn cut to her Link skill, which is a 10 turn cooldown, by the way. So even if she was to Ogi back to back to back to back 4 turns, it's still not off cooldown. It's only got like what, 1 turn or 2 turns left after 4 turns, which is, I feel like, kind of crazy, but it is a very strong skill, especially if you're Oging and you're getting that the ingredient effect, magic tiger ingredient effect. So then you'll be using both of these skills. It will be quite strong to get that up every 4 to 5 turns, especially with it being a 3 turn uptime. But I think you get my point for the most part. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to look at, because then you start to wonder about like other elements, right? Like, okay, if Dark is so stale and has like poor sustain, or even like Dark isn't doing the best damage either. Like, we can't sustain ourselves the best. In fact, I think our sustain is very mediocre. But we also don't have like strong damage to compensate for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you look at an element like, I don't know, let's like look at Earth, or like I guess let's look at water, right? Even if you don't buy Shishio, water is putting up such disgusting numbers, it's insane. Right? Using Hase's 4, shit ton of damage. You Ogi loop with her 3 after her Ogi. She gets a double Ogi. Shalom gets a double Ogi. Uh, I think Europa doesn't double Ogi, but Europa, she recently had a change. I haven't looked too much into her. I just kind of slapped her in my team and started full autoing. But I believe, what is this? Oh, it's just a TA boost. But I mean, if you're TAing constantly, right? You lower the cooldown for her heal, which is a fat heal, by the way. Like, this shit's healed up. I mean, fuck it. Let's pull it up, right? That shit is a fat heal. I'll just go into like, I don't know, Adam, I guess. And we can like have a look at her heal. Oh, is this not done still? Let me see. Nice. I'm pretty sure it's like 10k or something gross like that. Which, when you compare that number to like, say, who's really healing in Dark? Let me think. You have Lich. I'm not gonna count Citadel because it's not really a heal, it's just a refresh. But you have like Lich and like Azusa. Those are like the only viable healers. You could argue Anthuria, but I don't feel like Anthuria is that strong. She just doesn't have the tools to deal with like some of the omens and trials and stuff in like this higher level content. And even if you could say like, yeah, maybe she can deal with like a good chunk of them, there's no reason to ever run her over like Lich as a healer, right? That just does so much more. She gives you damage mitigation, she gives you heals, lots of damage, debuffs for those like times like Omen and shit. It's like she's just really strong comparatively, for this like type of high level content. And then when you take a look at Azusa, right? I already have it pulled up here. You have to hit along Azusa. Whoopsie. You have to actually hit her shit to get the 1k heal, which, I mean, you can look at Europa and be like, okay, her heal is 2k, but I'm pretty sure Europa has like some kind of like healing amp in her yeah, she has like a heal node. I think there's like a boost to heal specs or some shit. I don't remember. There's like some kind of like Lucy heal specs, I believe. Especially like if you're running Lucy as well, which that also applies to Azusa. But the heal is just so underwhelming. And then to even get this heal to proc consistently, you can't clip her 3, which is her biggest form of damage mitigation. And in these higher level raids, again, like Hexa, Fa 3, well, let's exclude Fa 3. Let's just say Hexa and Sub HL. Once you get to a certain point of the boss, their fucking attacks just hit everyone anyway, even if you have the hostility boost. So it doesn't, like, she's not actually mitigating very much damage for the team, right? Which means that you probably don't want to click this, which means that, again, you're missing out on one of her strongest tools, and probably the main reason you want to run her for a very mediocre heal that only has a chance of proccing, because her accuracy is just so fucking abominable. Like it's fucking gross. I've tried her in some Hexa comps, and even with 90% accuracy, it's just disgusting. Like I just miss so many hits. I miss my autos. I miss my OE. Even this like armored, like it forces you to kind of put. Well, you don't have to put her in the front, but like in slot 2, but it forces you to like try to time her Ogi, which you could be like, oh, that's like fun. You have to like actually think about it and like play methodically. But again, no other Ellie is playing methodically, right? Like you think about Wind, for example, right? You Ogi. Cats gives you a what the fuck is it, bro? It's again it's something like disgusting mitigation wise. 20% earth damage lower and earth switch, and now after his 5-star, he's giving you charge bar to funnel back to keep this uptime up permanently. By the way, his 1 gives you 100% defense up and strong as fuck multi-attack buff, which it consumes 30% of other allies' charge bar returns, sure, but when you have this skill, and then you're also looking at the fact that if you're running him with Cow, she can just instantly give MC bar with her 1, right? It doesn't really matter if he's draining, 30% bar return. And I could be wrong. I don't really play Wind, so I don't know if you even want this up for the majority of the raid. It has a 0-turn recast, so you can really turn it on and off at will. I don't think there's very much downside to doing that. Even this, the 200% defense up, and you can all target, and you can live 1 hit, so, or with 1 HP. Like, there's so many tools for sustain to tank triggers. He gives you Revitalize, which, again, is the same heal cap as Azusa's, but it's just like, it's when you're not debuffed, which, again, how are you getting debuffed in some of these raids when there's so much like clarity and shit, right? Like in like slot 3 or like Hexa, if you're continuously clearing omens, you're not really getting debuffed by that boss, so you're just kind of getting a free like heal at the end of every turn. And then if you do, let's say you're playing slot 3, right, and you're getting like continuously debuffed, you get 30% defense just for free. Like I'm pretty sure that's like close to half of what Fediel's skill 3 gives. Just gonna fact check myself here. Does it say the value? I think her shit gives like 75% defense, cause all foes and allies defense is lowered. Yeah, I think she lowers it by 25% and then she boosts defense by 100%. So it's like 75% defense boost, I believe. Yeah, 100% boosted defense. So that makes sense. So he's basically giving half of her defense for free. And if he's not giving that, he's healing you. On top of 20% damage reduction, or I guess earth damage lower, and then earth switch. So you're just taking less damage and less damage and less damage for like essentially free. Because you kind of never want to auto with this guy. I feel like he doesn't have strong auto buffs. And just based off of how Wind functions in these raids anyway, you kind of just prefer to OE, especially like if you're running someone like Cow or Kaguya. We could take a look at Kaguya as well again, who gives charge bar, right? Yeah, whenever you're probably only ever using this on MC, right? You gain 20% charge bar, see react. Like you want to Ogi with these units, right? And they benefit you and they reward you for Ogiing with these units, right? But I feel like comparatively to dark units, like look at Fediel Ogi. You just get damage. Versus let's compare it to even like I guess like Ariar. I think Ariar gets the like nuke. Oh no, she gets the cooldown. 1 turn got the cooldown. But this is actually not too bad because her cooldowns already are low to begin with. So you can cycle your skills like pretty well. Or I think it's the wrong Ariar. Oh, never mind, wrong one. Okay, yeah, you do get the nuke afterwards. So you're benefiting, and that nuke gives you charge bar like back. So it's like you were like actually rewarded for Ogiing as opposed to just doing like an Ogi, which you could argue, oh, but Fediel Ogis twice, and yes, that is important, especially for things like Ogi 6 times or Ogi 4 times or 5 times. I mean, that type of stuff, or even just like funneling into Faded Chain. But I don't know. I just feel like there's so much more that these other characters outside of Dark are getting that Dark characters aren't getting, right? Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much more to say in terms of hard content. I feel like other elements, right? You look at like what's common in these raids. You need to dispel. You need to debuff. You need to sustain. You need to do damage to obviously hit like the 30 mil damage quotas or like the fucking even if it's like the 60 hit damage quota, 66 hit damage quota or hit quota, I guess. Like you kind of want to structure your teams to be able to do all that stuff. And like when you take a look at Dark, your Opus pretty much has to be prog so you can get the echo on your units because Fediel's 2 is 6 hits. Palmal's 1 is, what is it, like 8 hits all around, I believe? Uh, yeah, 8 hits with the 2 proc and then 8 hits on her 3. But then you're literally forced to use these skills to do that, right? Because it's not like Palmal's getting like, any bonus damage on auto. Like Fediel reactivates her skill on auto. Palmal's not getting that, right? Lich is not getting that. Like they just auto. That's all they do on their auto attacks. Versus you take a look at like God Earth, for example, their characters have so much like strong auto buffs, especially MC with hunting. You benefit so much from autoing. But then their Ogies aren't bad either. Like let's take a look at I'll just pick Shalom because again I used her as an example earlier, right? You remove the ancient seal, which I don't you couldn't tell me what the fuck this does. I don't even know what that shit does, but I'm sure it's good, right? When all ancient seals are removed, guaranteed DA boosts TA, debuff skills, and charge attack activate twice. So again, you're rewarded for Ogieing, and then if you consume this, she does a fuck ton of more damage. And she gets a one turn cut to her skills, which her skills are already not that high cooldown to begin with. Comparatively, right? Like, because I'm gonna compare her to Fediel because she kind of has like some sustain in terms of her 3 and whatnot. So like let's just take a look at Fediel again. Her skill cooldowns like 16. And yes, it's not actually 16 because you consistently Ogi and you proc your Faded Chain, but it's kind of annoying in raids like Hexa, right? Where like you don't know what the next phase is gonna be. So it's like, do I really like want a Faded Chain? Like, can I get it back up in time to clear like Galleon's like Faded Chain Omen, right? Or do I really want to Faded Chain during the push from 40 to 15? Like, am I going to be able to get my Faded Chain back up in time to, have it for the 15 so I can push through the unchallenged so I can, like, help kill the boss, right? So you kind of want to be, like, wary of, like, how you're using your Faded Chain. And especially if you're in a raid with competent players, it's going to go quick. If your Earth player is good, if your Fire player is good, if your fucking Wind Water player is good, raids zooming, to be honest. So with all that Ogi lockout, and lack of sustain again. So you have to call shit like Lucifer, right? If you pair him with Yachuma, so you can maybe get like you summon Lucy and you have it set up to where when you call Yachuma, you get another like Lucy call, something like that. The amount of time that takes comparatively to okay, I have all these defense buffs. Let me just like click attack and like go on with my life, like as an Earth player or like even like as a Fire player, right? Higurashi also gives you the wind switch. Noah gives you some sustain on his skill too. These characters just have crazy defense buffs to begin with. When you bring in Alan in, I think he gives you what a 100% defense buff just for existing, coming in from the back, something like that. 50%. Oh no, it gets upgraded to 100%. So yeah, that is crazy. That is just so crazy to me. So I don't know for free, not even clicking a button, but I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about Dark in terms of like high level content. It's kind of hard to do all the omens and labors comparatively, and even if you set yourself up to do that, you're literally using all your tools to do that. Like if you're doing hits, you kind of have to fucking use how Mal's skills. You have to use Fediel's too. You probably have to put your Ray one off of MC and put it on Fediel so she does the reactivate on her skill when she autos, right? All this type of like all this stuff you have to maneuver around to pull off versus damn let me Ogi like as water like damn let me Ogi. And no shade to water, I also I'm a water enjoyer myself. I mean shit like well I say that my shit's not even barred, but I got nothing barred, but fuck it, I'm exposing myself too much. But anyway, like, I'm a water enjoyer too, so I get it. Like I don't know, I just feel like even if you make the argument that these other elements work just as hard as Dark, you get so much more value out of the work you put in as like a wind player or a water player or a earth player as opposed to being a dark player where even doing your job is kind of worthless. Like look at sub HL. The dark tenant is fucking worthless. Like nobody cares if you clear that. You look at fucking Hexa. Nobody gives a fuck what the dark player is doing past 40%. Like clear your pearl, okay, cool. Water wind will take care of it, or like fucking earth will mash take care of it. Like some other element will take care of it. And yes, you can set up dark in a way to move 40 to 15 or move like 15 to 0, but it's really difficult comparatively to move that amount. Like move like I remember my boy Hilo, he posted a screen. Let me see if I can pull it up. He posted a screenshot. He took 41 turns as fire, which I mean you could call me bad, but taking 41 turns as dark just doesn't feel good if you ever take 41 turns. Cause you're gonna be struggling to clear stuff. Like imagine you get a back-to-back dispel as dark. What the fuck are you gonna do? Your only source of dispel here in this specific setup, which is in my opinion, the optimal setup you can run for, like, let's say Fa 3, because this is what this is for, Fa 3. Bro, you have Howmel 3. And it's not like you can take a turn and then get Howmel's 3 auto-activate when the foe has 5 buffs, because let's say you're at, like, the 7 trumpets, right? And Lucy has buffed himself with his labors, and let's say he has 6 of them. First of all, you're removing those labors, for 1, so eventually he's not going to have 5 buffs up at all times to proc that auto-dispel. And for 2, it's at the end of the turn, so you're not gonna get the benefit of having used said dispel to clear the omen, so it's just gonna go through, right? Where I mean, like, what else are you gonna do to dispel? Like, you literally have no other source. You could call Bubs, but what if you get it back to back, or what if you get a dispel into a fucking hit into a dispel? I don't know if I forgot. I haven't played too much Fall, and I play light in Fall, but definitely Hexa. Hexa, you can definitely hit the dispel and then fucking damage and then dispel like back to back. It doesn't feel good, but nonetheless, um, you look at like say fire, Zeta dispels on auto, right? Fucking Michael has dispel from 3, and I think it auto. I think I forgot if it auto activates at the end of turn or if it auto activates upon like a third charge attack. I know she has like some stacking type shit with her 3, but I don't know. You look at fucking light, right? Light dispel. Cosmos dispels on 1, Vera dispels on 2. You can Ogi to proc Cosmos' 1 auto activation to get another source of dispel. Like, there's so many sources of dispel. Um, I don't know what Wind's dispel source is. I can't really think of it off the top of my head. I'm sure it has some, right? Like, fuck it, let's look at Cal. Maybe I can't think about the top of my head if they have a dispel source. I don't think so. If they do, I think it's Kaguya, because I don't think Cats had it. Yeah, I don't see it. So I could be wrong, but I guess Wind, you would probably need to like call Bubs and shit and like try to figure out a way to get around this spell issue. Oh, you call Zeph. You just call Zeph. And if you have Yachima and you're playing Fall 3, just summon 2 Zephs. Of course, you probably want to main Baha in this instance, but like that is an option. That is you can definitely run double Zeph, especially when primals get their uncaps coming up here in March/April around anniversary. Bro, you're probably gonna be running double Zeph, especially with opuses requiring 280% or higher. I forget what the term is. Oh, damn. What is it? I don't know. Oh, wait. I think it's I have to go to my dark opus. Let me see. Is this one? Am I stupid? I'm stupid, I think. Whatever. 280% of the aura, right? From your Hades or your Varna or whatever. So I think that's definitely gonna be something to look forward to, like upcoming. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about that. And then in terms of like non-HL content, so let's just say like gold bar farming, right? Or like sand farming, like Akasha, Bahama Hell level, Go HL. Dark's not the best in those raids. I mean, obviously Akasha, you're gonna want to play Dark. Um, I've seen some setups, like obviously there's like the I think it's 2 summon, 2 button with Shiva, right? 1 turn. You have the which I don't have that set up, but I guess I can change my party to show you, right? I believe it is Bubs, and then you just run Shiva in one of these slots, I believe. That's why I have Yachibe here actually. 'Cause I was testing that out and I just forgot to change it. Um, and then you just run some shit like this, like your Awakened Parazo, your Agostia staff, and then just, neutral mod weapons. And then you run your Shiva, your Bubs. And I think it's Ilsa 1. It's like Ilsa 1 and like something else, and like Bubs 1 and Shiva Cola. It's like a 1 turn. And then obviously you have the standard Bubs into Ilsa 1 attack 2 turn. Um, pretty easy, pretty efficient. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how active Akasha is right now, but okay, it's 5 out of 18 half dead, right? You fucking just pop in. You can even full auto it. I think I have my shit set to full auto my other thing. Oops, wrong button. Damn, bro. Don't forget to turn off your fucking the battle notification shit. But yeah, you could just 2 turn. I had low damage because I think this setup specifically requires defense down, which isn't the best, but I'm lazy. I haven't updated my setups in so long. But like Akasha is very viable. Bahamut high level, same shit. Um, I think Bahamut high level uses Yachima main, but you can also do Bubs main, or Baha main. I don't think it particularly matters. And you just do Ilsa 1 6 1, like attack for like close to 2 mil, I believe, which is pretty cool. Um, what else do you have? Oh, Go HL. I don't think you're really playing Dark in Go HL. If anything, you're just using Dark MC to mainhand that world weapon, right? So that you can get away with the one button, one summon. You just call your Bubs and you click Cal 1, and then it's like 1 point. I think mine does like 1.38. So there's a lot of leeway, especially with like this grid and these characters. Um, in terms of sand farming, so I think Dark overall, in terms of like farming bars, it's not that big a deal. Every element can do it now. I think it's just personal preference, to be honest. Obviously, you want to like use what's the fastest, but if you are a Dark main or you're looking to invest in Dark, right, it's not the worst. Like you can farm bars. Um, Sands, I can't really say the same, right? Unless you're farming the world, um, which I think you can Ilsa 1 attack that, which is pretty quick. Otherwise you have to go into Cosmos, right? And we all know how that raid is. That raid is ass to full auto because you have to balance out the everybody knows you have to balance out the bar, you have to, make sure you're fucking not dying to triggers and shit. Um, Especially sweeping detonation, that one is a pain in the ass to deal with. If you're not pretty well invested into the element. So in terms of farming sands, I feel like Dark is not the best. You could easily be an Earth player and do like a 2 or 3 turn setup for like Diaspora, and it's like no risk. You could probably even full auto it pretty easily. Um, Same with like Sieg. If you have like Shion, full autoing Sieg is so easy. Um, if you have like the proper setup, and then the grid investment is not as deep as you would need for say like Dark, in my opinion. Um, Even though every element is kind of running the same like style of grid nowadays. You have your I don't know what this grid is gonna be. I haven't used this shit in a while. Okay, you have your like what is it, Resonator? I think it's Resonator or like Reactor, some shit like that. But you have like your ES and like your like Lord of Fire, your Galleon Staff type weapon. You have your PNS in every element. Soon Exalto coming to dark, coming to light. It's definitely coming to light within the next like 1 to 2 banners for sure. It's gonna come to dark after because I really believe Dark Guild War is gonna come after Light Guild War. So every element's kind of gravitating towards the same type of grid style, just because each weapons are just ridiculous. In all forms of content. With the cap up, the attack HP mod, you get your defense. PNS is just literally supplemental in damage. Like, not much to say about it. Oh, and cap up as well. Speaks for itself. Very valuable weapons. Good in all content. Um, but yeah. Um, Definitely better ways to farm sand than playing dark. And if you were gonna play something like Sub HL, right, or Hexa or Fall 3 for a sand drop there, you don't want to play dark, bro. Just play fucking wind or water or earth and just like mash your way through the boss, carry everybody else. Like so much less headache. than playing Dark. Um, and then of course sandbox and one pawning. We already kind of touched on that. You fucking just boot up your Aresh, and it's just fucking one pawn simulator. I use this to one pawn my shit. Probably not optimal. Um, shit, I don't even have fucking I can probably run the drop rate like the Viren staff. I could probably get away with running that in here. But yeah, one pawns everything, even defenders. You could probably like 2 3 turn defenders, um, with their defense buffs and shit. So quite strong in that regard. Um, but yeah, I guess to summarize, high level raids, Dark is ass, easily the worst element to play. Um, you can pull it off, but it feels the worst to play. Um, you kind of have the least amount of innovation in terms of character usage. There's not much to work with to begin with, and when it comes to like putting up numbers or like the potential to carry, I think it's just the lowest potential to carry out of like any element. I think the next worst one is probably light, in my opinion. I think every other like all the other four elements, you could hear them like water, wind, and then like put a slash, and then like earth, fire, and then put a slash, and then like light, and then put like fucking 3 slashes and put dark. Like I think it's honestly like that in terms of like carry potential in these high level raids. Bar farming, I think dark is as competitive as every other element. Sand farming, definitely better elements you can play. In terms of full autoing these revons, especially with needing as many mats as you need with these revons. Nobody's trying to manual all that shit because everybody else is gonna be full autoing. So you're just gonna put yourself in raid lockout. It's not gonna matter too much if you're trying to like fucking manual and shit and kill the boss. So um, definitely not the comfiest element to full auto your sands with, or to even go manualing about like sub HL and stuff like that. Um, to further touch on this next point, I suppose, like what kind of tools does Dark have to deal with said content, right? So I'll do this in reverse order, right? I'll talk about bars and then sands and then HL raids because I feel like I can just get through those first two quickly. In terms of farming bars, you have so many options. Bowman 6, Ilsa, Citala. Um, you could even do like the Yachima near variant where you will let me see. This, right? Where let's say, okay, I don't have fucking Bowman, right? Cool, but I have like Meg, for example. I think I have Meg somewhere in here. Yeah, you have like Meg, right? You could make that work. If you fucking want to use Fedial, people back in the day used to click Fedial 3 for her auto nuke after, with especially with the rest so it procs twice. That's viable. Of course, it's clicky comparatively to, you know, just going in Bubs, Ilsa 1 attack, or even just, I think there's a 000 variant where you just Ilsa 1 attack. But that one's RNG and it's also debuff dependent. So, not too consistent in my personal usage of that comp, but you definitely have options in terms of farming bars to start. Um, both for Bahamut High Level and Akasha, you can kind of mix and match your characters to an extent. Go HL again. I don't see a reason why you would ever play Dark in Go HL. There's infinitely more setups you can run that are more time and cost efficient than investing into Dark. Again, this shit takes no time to farm. Um, World weapons, a matter of fucking like an hour probably, not even. If you're like a mid to end game player and you can like actively trying to get these weapons, just go farm the world raid. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. This is probably the only difficult thing in quotations, but even that, right? If you're really down bad, I don't recommend it, but if you're really down bad, you could just trade it in here. Um, if you're really missing it and you're really like looking to catch up on farming those weapons, that is attainable that way. Opus, Ultima, you should have this. I mean, there's no excuse not to have them. They're very strong weapons, especially Opus. Um, Agonize again. Daily host your fucking where is this from? It's been a while since I've done that raid. Um, I don't even know where Agonize comes from. Anima Animus, yeah, that raid. Daily host that. You should have it by now, but if you're a new player or something, daily host that. People will come kill it. You know, get your agonize, and then Sante swords they speak for themselves. It's easy to get. Slap together some fire teams. The other fire players are full autoing. They'll kill it for you. Just try to get some participation in there for a blue chest. You can get these pretty easy, right? And Cosmic Sword, pretty easy to get. Only difficult thing, I guess, for this setup is your Primarchs. All of mine are fully uncapped. Having the Grand Order is nice as well. And then having Bubs, obviously, Bubs is going to be the hardest thing to get here. But, um, yeah, I don't know. There's probably some like 000 shit out there that you can do that also probably uses similar setups. Um, I know for sure I know for a fact there's some 000 shit with Grand Naru and someone else. I think I even saw like Alan come in with like a Yachima setup. So there's lots of stuff you can do with Goijo. Same with Bahamut high level. I mean, my Bahamut high level setup at the moment is water. I just use my gun. Grid's probably not optimal, but I'm lazy and it works, so don't really care about fixing it too much. Um, Again, you could probably play like Wind Spartan with Romp. I don't know what Wind's running in Bahamut high level. I don't know what fucking I can pull up my boy Hilo, he's posted a Bahama High level videos with Earth. So if you're interested in that, just look up ATJ 500. I'll link it in the description as well. He puts up some good shit. Light with Ura. I'm sure I could, you could look up Light Ura Bahama High level, find some good shit with that. Fire, obviously Alanan, Mana Diver, super strong. There's lots of things you can farm Bahama High level with. So there's really no need to invest in Dark specifically to get your bars um, and Sands, really. So, and then in terms of the tools for Cosmos and Sands in general, if you're looking the sub HL Hexa route, you're pretty much kind of locked. You need Ferial. I'm not gonna say you need Lich, but I mean I don't see why you wouldn't run Lich. Nier's also quite strong. Um, this is a Chrysler setup. So this is like my DPS setup for Hexa, right? Chrysler, you get the assassin after Oging with the I'm not gonna try to pronounce that, but you can see the skill. Obviously, charge attack twice, auxiliary boost your damage, your Ogi damage as well. Ilsa, just a fucking DPS demon with her buffs and her quad attack. Nier amps your MC with her skill 4 quite a bit, and then also just giving everyone thirsting to add a little bit more sustain. I didn't talk about her thirsting sustain because the way her thirsting works is when you take damage, you are partially refunded part of that damage as like healing, right? So let's say you take 10,000 damage. I'm just gonna throw out arbitrary numbers here. You'll heal back like 500 of that damage, right? So, a little bit of sustain there, um, that you can factor in. So those are some pretty strong tools. I think I have another setup with Cetala here. Um, she again talking about her two in terms of sustain is pretty decent unless you don't clear some of the omens in like Hexa for example. Fucking Godsight is gonna ruin you. Sub HL whenever uh Bahamut gets like Godsight, you don't want to click this skill. He's literally going to shit on this character. Um, and then Fa 3, again, I don't think Fa has Godsight. Um, Unconditionally, I think it's probably like a conditional Godsight. I believe I haven't run the raid too much, so I'm not 100% sure. But again, if he does have Godsight, makes Cetala's 2 value kind of go down. Um, Obviously Federal's damage and sustain, so some decent tools there. Um, Looking at some other dark units though for these higher level raids. Howmouth, very strong. Lots of debuffs. You get what, 4 debuffs in this link skill. And I think this counts as 2 or 3. I think Everbane is like 2 debuffs. It's like attack and defense down and then supplemental. And obviously remove buffs based on number of foes debuffs, max 5, so you can remove up to 5 buffs. Or debuffs I mean. Or yeah, remove 5 buffs. Um she has guaranteed double attack, so if you need something for hits, she's not the worst to use. Um, but it is something to keep in mind. If you think like, oh, she got a single attack, no, she deals multi attacks, so that's something to keep in mind. Then obviously she does more CA damage and has a higher cap. if the foe has more debuffs, and her CA activates twice if the foe has lots of debuffs. So obviously these endgame raids are going to be debuffed to all hell, and it's going to be lots of perma debuffs as well. So you don't have to worry too much about that. So she's very strong. Her, Fediel, Nier, and Lich for sure are like the premier. And you can see over here, right? These three, like they are like the golden staple of like dark HL raids at the moment in terms of like damage, sustain. Like they're like the perfect balance. Obviously, that other Hexa setup I showed you with I believe it's this one that uses like Ray, like putting it on MC and having MC be your primary damage dealer, and you're running Ilsa as well to do a bit more damage. Obviously, your sustain is going to take quite a hit, but again, it kind of depends what raid you're doing and what you need to do. Hexa doesn't really have too many like, oh, do 66 hits, or oh, like randomly do, what is it, 60,000 or 60 million damage, like shit like that. Like FOD just be throwing shit at you. Um, Something to keep in mind as well. Um, Other tools and options though, aside from those four, I guess I'll throw Ray in there. Ray is also pretty solid for those raids. I think Ozitsa's viable, but she's pretty copium. Again, we talked about her earlier. Her heal is conditional, to say, for lack of a better term. You can just straight up missing it unlucky and never heal, or you could fucking heal every like fucking turn, or you click her three and you're not really healing because you're not. You have to normal attack, hit him with a skill, or hit him with a charge attack to heal. So you obviously can't do that if you can't fucking move with her thing. You can Ogi or you can click her skill, but you can't normal attack. So you have to think about her cooldowns. Unlike the other dark characters, she doesn't get cooldown refund on her Ogi. So you unironically just have to wait 10 turns to try to get another crack at this skill to try to get a heal. It's rough. So you do actually get the one turn cut to these two skills at the end of the turn, which is nice. But again, you're not getting to cast this. So at best, what is this? It's 5 turn time, so this is like a 5 turn cooldown or lower if you cast this. Probably like, cause what, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's like, yeah, it's like 5 turns roughly. So that is something to keep in mind, I suppose. The armored on her Ogi is decent if you can time it with like using your skill one, or obviously gaining charge bar to time that well. Um, I've seen Magisa used in Fa 3. I think she's decent. Obviously, crests are nice buffs, especially nowadays if you're running the Zosimos comp. I think it's pretty good. Light damage cut is nice if you're pairing her with Lich as well, because the Lich has the light switch. And then revitalize sustain is pretty decent. Um, Veil is also nice as well. It's really nice in fall, so you don't get debuffs. But obviously, if you're pairing her with Lich, kind of doesn't matter. You kind of want to get debuffed anyway, so you get that extra healing. Being able to Ogi whenever you want, getting all these hits off, the 5 hit on this, and then getting the debuff removal for, again, Fa or Hexa, very strong. And you get in cooldown for those. Very strong. Um, Bonus dark damage effect is also quite good, because that gives you more hits again, which helps you clear those trials. Let's say you're in like the Ariar and Wilnos phase in Hexa, right? You have to do 36 hits. Okay, Magisa's not the worst for that. I don't know why you would run her in Hexa if you, I guess if you didn't have something like Fediel and you needed someone with like, okay, let me get this light damage cut to pair with my Lich to give me some of that mitigation that I'm missing from Fediel. Sure, you can rock with that, but you know, she's just like an option that's like not even, I wouldn't even say she's viable. I would just say she's an option. Like if you really got nothing else, you'll run her, right? Um, let's see here. Vikola also pretty decent. I don't think she's good in these high raids, like high level raids, again because Godsight, so her dodge means nothing. You'll see the common trend with like 6, right? He has dodge on Ogi. Vikola, dodge on Ogi. Um, Dark Anthuria, dodge rate increase. All these dark characters dodging, dodging, dodging doesn't mean shit against Godsight. So our largest form of mitigation, and really an arguable piece of our identity and our niche as an element, like dodging, as well as I believe like skill damage, right? Like skill damage and auto nukes. I think Dark has always kind of been the auto nuking, like skill damage, dodge element. If you even go as far back as Dark Kalulu, right? Um, old Bahamut high level Dark Soldier MVP racing, right? You fucking get Kalulu low, she's auto nuking every turn with her Tally Ho, shit like that, right? But even then, like Godsight completely makes dodge irrelevant, and then every element has skills like skill nukes nowadays. Like fucking Kowtow is doing a fuck ton of damage. Trying to think of other auto nukers. I guess Hase 4, you could consider that an auto nuke. Zeta has an auto nuke. Percival has an auto nuke with enough cinch stacks. Fucking Cosmos has an auto nuke with her when you have her 3 up inactive with that buff. Like every element has an auto nuke nowadays. So it's like even that identity is like has been stripped from Dark. Dark kind of just does what every other element does, like in general, but just like a way worse version of it. So keeping that in mind, I mean, Ko is also kind of viable if you need a sack or like you need him to tank something like later. So let's say you were gonna kill off a unit halfway into sub HL, right, or some shit like you're gonna kill him off to 75, or like you want to kill off a unit to get another unit to come in. You can use Ko, right, with his sub, and then oh shit, like you eat all. I think this is also receives all ally attacks. I don't know if that actually works with um what's his face? I think this should work with sub HL's 75 trigger, but you know, he's a viable like stack option for shit like that. Um Obviously Near we talked about her thirsting's great, her skill forward buffing MC is great. Being able to use her skill 2 in something like Fa and Hexa to guarantee TA also quite good, I feel like. I think more so in Hexa than Fa because her killing herself and well, yeah, her dying, right? And pushing the end meter like farther for you so that you don't have as much time to play. Not ideal for Fa 3. Um, so probably want to avoid using her there. Shalom used to be a really strong high level unit for her perma debuff on 1. And but I mean that's kind of irrelevant now because we have Haomao, right? Um, so she got replaced. Obviously this gave you all kinds of debuffs and stuff, but again, Haomao debuffs just like that. So well minus like the MA down and like all this, like you don't get these specific ones, but you kind of only click this to lower their damage, but that's kind of irrelevant when how like this attack lower isn't even going to apply on a boss because they resist attack down in most of these high level raids. So you want Haomao stackable attack down so you can actually like mitigate some damage. This dodge again irrelevant when these bosses have God Sight, so this skill fell the fuck off. And then other than that, you know use Ogi hard, so you know Shalom kind of fell off. So it'd be wrong to say that she's a tool. Tanya was also good in these high level raids. I think like what is it? Belial. You could probably I think Dark Full Auto uses her for the delay. I don't really see anyone using her in any other capacity other than that. Um, you could run Seox, but again, his biggest form of damage mitigation is dodge, and that's taken away from him when every boss has God Sight. You can run him in like sub HO, right? Even though he has God Sight, but he doesn't really get the God Sight until later in the fight, so it's kind of, you know, not that big of a deal. And 6 has value in that raid because you can use his skill 2 to eat the Serious Origin to kill him off to keep pushing, I believe, post 10. So, other than that, I think every other character is pretty mid. I mean, I don't know what else you're really running in a high level dark raid that like you just wouldn't be absolutely griefing. If I'm being completely honest, like we kind of don't have any other tools. I am missing some characters like dark, like Holiday Uni. The problem with Holiday Uni though, she doesn't do anything in terms of clearing omens and clearing trials. So it's like why, like what's going on with that? You know what I mean? Like she's a new unit, so I don't know. I don't know. Dark is I don't know what we need, bro. We definitely need some healing or some damage mitigation that doesn't require us to spam Ogi and use our Fated Chain. And even if it does require us to Ogi, it needs to be something similar to how Katse is, right? Where, you know, he gives you 20% earth damage lower and like earth switch. Like he has earth switch, water has fucking water switch, or at least whatever. Fucking Higurashi gives you wind switch. Like all these fucking I think Kime also gives like Ellie switch or some shit like that. And if not Kime, then you can run like Sandalph on Earth. Like all these elements have their switch, except for like Dark, which you could argue okay Lich, but again we already kind of discussed like she kind of really just uses her two for debuff and healing, and her one just as damage, pretty much. And it gives you the Death Grace and the Light Switch. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to look at. Um, Outside of those tools, talking about them specifically, a lot of these characters, like Citadel, for example, I keep harping on this. You have to Ogi because you have to lower your skill cooldown, and specifically with Citadel, you have to 4-chain with Tide of Chaos to get this buff to even proc both of these skills to get the link skill effect and to get the buff to make this auto activate on auto, which this is actually a pretty strong form of buff removal because you can click the skill and then auto, right? And you get your two buff removals for like fall, because fall only asks for two. Um so that's pretty strong, but again, you have to 4-chain and you have to keep Ogiing because you have to keep the skill cooldowns like low, and you have to make sure that her buff is up so she's actually casting that skill after her auto. So I think the reliance on constantly Ogiing all the time, where you're really missing out on the value of Dark, even like Lich, for example, right? You have to Ogi to lower her cooldown for these two skills because these are your probably your biggest form of damage mitigation in Dark at the moment, other than arguably Fediel 3-1. Um, but even then, like if you're not Ogiing, it's what a 5 out of 8 uptime, which isn't really the best when you can get easily sniped or blown up in those 3 turns of downtime. So you want to make sure you're Ogiing. But if you're in Ogi, you're in lockout, which means you can't play the game, which means, oh shit, I haven't been able to play for 20 seconds of lockout, and now I have to, cast this skill, cast that skill, summon Lucy for heal, summon Baja for cooldown. Fucking, like, all the other 5 players in the raid have mashed the boss like an extra 10% by the time that you're ready to move on to clear, like, another, like, trigger or labor or omen, whatever you're doing, right? Um, I guess the next topic here, now that we've kind of talked about character tools, weapon tools, there's really not much to say. We're running the same shit everybody else is running. The fucking Guild War weapons, the Celestial weapons, very strong weapons. PNS type weapons, Resonator type weapons, Ultima, Draconic, Opus, every element's running this. The only thing that we're missing that other elements have, or some other elements, is Exalto. So fire and wind, I believe. I think Kaguya is wind's Exalto, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but we'll get that in due time, so not too worried about that. In terms of weapons, same thing with summons. You could argue, okay, Zeph's Call is very strong. Um, Varna boosting TA in these higher rates that are just requiring TA, pretty strong. Also gives you a debuff of putrefaction, I believe. Um, Quite good. Sleep literally doesn't do anything against these high level raids. The boost to charge bar gain is actually quite nice for Dark, especially after talking about how much we rely on Oging. So being able to get your Ogies up faster and more often is obviously quite nice, and it funnels into our element quite nicely. But again, it's kind of like I feel like you're not really caring too much about charge bar gain as opposed to other elements that literally get it like within their kits. Like Katsei is given 20% or 15% charge bar every Ogi. Fucking Kaguya is giving MC and herself 20% charge bar every Ogi. Fucking God forbid we talk about Hase. She's given so much fucking charge bar every Ogi with her skill 3 reset. It's like, yeah, sure, thanks for the boost to charge bar game. Like it's ridiculous, I feel like. Hades call comparatively to even Zeus is a 5k shield. Like you get half a Fedial shield just for a call, and let's say you're running double Zeus in the near future, because I do think people will be running double Primal at some point for these higher level raids. Um, you're literally getting Fedial shield on a similar cooldown slash downtime unless you're spamming your Faded Chains. So it's like what is that, bro? I think the only other summon that's probably worse than Hades is probably Agni, but even then, Agni gives you a debuff and he gives you jammed, which doesn't particularly matter for fire. You're kind of never low HP anyway in these high level raids with Higurashi and like Noah Sustain. Zeta heals herself, gives like self shielding and shit. So you're not like worrying about that. Alanin gives you drain and like disgusting defense up. Frau is healing you, giving you stackable defense and attack up. So lots of sustain there. Um, Not too worried about that call if you're a fire player. But yeah, Zeph dispelling definitely I think is the strongest summon. Um, Situationally, Titan could be better than Zeph because armored plus lethal hit, depending on like what you're trying to do. Like back in the day, like if you're playing like Belial, right, and you don't clear enough of the stacks before 50, and then you're taking Anagenesis that does the plane damage, Titan's broken for that, right? So obviously his value is going to go up there versus Zeph, but I feel like in general, Zeph has the best call, and he gives you charge bar, which like just straight up charge bar, which is a spit in the face of the charge bar gain you get from Hades, which unlike other elements, Dark doesn't have characters other than like Christmas Uni that gives you charge bar to benefit from that charge bar boost gain. So I don't know, just feels kind of weird. Um, I kind of touched on this when I first started this fucking hour long rant. Can't believe we're at an hour already, by the way. But Guild Wars coming up. So like in terms of like investing into Dark, like getting ready to play that, I feel like you're pretty squared away just getting PNS, getting your ESs. You won't regret investing at least that much. I do have a Defense Awakened Blood Gang here. Would not recommend that. You don't need it. Um, Other weapons to talk about, I guess. Let's see. I don't have every weapon because I'm lazy and I don't really farm too much. But um, Draconic costs a sand, costs some Dama crystals. That's all farmable. So I would argue yes, grab it because it's farmable. Um, but obviously if you don't have time, if sands are scarce, I would say not that big a deal to uncap your Draconic as Dart. It is a gun main hand, so keep that in mind. Dark gun options are not the greatest. Um, Shit. Even I made a mistake, bro. Like I'm gonna just go ahead and out myself right here, right now. Like I was like, dark guns are so shit. Let me just fucking buy one. Oh, it's not even here. It's in gotcha, I think. Right? Yeah. I made a mistake, but you know, we won't talk about this. But I do think. Oh yeah, fallen sword value. Fallen swords are really good, especially like if you're farming Bahamut high level. I think my UBHL full auto uses fallen sword. I think my one of my fall 3 parties that I'm looking to make it uses a fallen sword. You pretty much use this weapon everywhere. I would argue pretty strong. Um, as long as you're using single Hades, you need at least single Hades to make fallen sword usable IMO. Otherwise, you're better off using like Agostia staffs, which I think I have. Yeah, like stacking these, um, alongside just like your PNS, your ES, your Awakened Parazo, which I would recommend investing in Awakened Parazo. I think it's a great main hand. It gives you those extra hits you need as Dark to clear some of those hit trials without having to invest your skills as much. It gives you the multi attack boost on Ogi as well, and it just straight up gives you Trium, I believe. Yeah, so small boost and multi attack rate helps you get um that TA condition up on your characters to be more likely to pass that omen. Skeletal, I think this is not that great. Maybe just make one if you're like really trying to invest in Dark. I think it's a decent main hand. But you don't need to IMO. You can just use an Agonize instead. Babel, I think you only invest this if you're. I would wait for Primal update. At the moment, I see some people use 3 for guaranteed crit with FLB Fedial summon. But you mostly use it for HP anyway. And honestly, at this point, with the Celestial weapons plus fucking ESs, everybody's running double Hades anyway, so you can use like a Defense Awakened, Forsaken Agostia. Like you have some pretty decent HP options. On Hail as well, pretty strong weapon. I would only recommend investing in it if you are investing in Dark, like to main. I think having one is nice. Um, Other than that, like Agostia staff is very strong. Aresh, I'm not want to talk too much about it. It's obviously very strong. If I can find it somewhere here, I think. I don't know. But yeah, if you don't know what Aresh does, look it up, bro. Oh, here it is. Fucking double strike the party on Ogi. Fucking amps for normal attack damage. Hasn't hit the skill damage cap, but is what it is. All the other buffs you like to buff the normal attack damage. The instant CA standby every turn for 2 turns, so up to 3 turns I believe. And then double strike more than makes up for it. The normal attack amp makes up for it. And it gives you the sharp hit to charge bar gain, so you're not ogieing on accident. Very, very, very strong for wamponing and even executing for stuff like sub HL um and like Hexa and stuff. So um I think if you were looking to invest in Dark, just invest in that bare minimum. Get your PNS, get your ES, get your Parasol Awakened, and maybe like one Fallen Sword, one Skeletal as like a baseline, right? And then farm all your farmable shit. Farm your Agacia staffs, farm your Agacia harps, obviously. Farm your Draconic. Um, yeah, pretty straightforward. Um, I don't think you would regret investing in it if you are trying to main the element, like dropping resources into those weapons. But if you're like, damn, I'm kind of bored of like water and fire, I want to pick up another element, I would not recommend Dark. It like I wouldn't recommend it. Like you're just wasting resources at that point. You're probably gonna play it once or twice for fun, but you would also probably just be griefing at the same time because you could probably just fucking run free to play shit and try to get by with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess to close it out, what would I do? I know I've like ratted on Dark a lot, but Dark does have some good sides. Like again, one pawning events, one pawning sandbox. Other elements can do that too, but I think Dark is just the easiest to do it with. Just pick up an Aresh, pick up some subfixable characters, bing bada boom, got it going. Um, yeah, I don't know. We need better HL units. Like we need someone that can sustain us better than what our current roster can sustain us. I feel like because you kind of just can't brain dead mash as many turns as you can with like wind or water or earth or fire. Like it's just not a thing. So definitely having a HL unit that sustains us, but then also something that helps us clear these omens and trials a lot better. Because having to throw all your tools out just make like you just kind of it forces you into a position where you have to do your job and then that's it and you like dip right. So gotta be careful of that. Exalto weapon, we have that coming up. I don't think the weapon itself is gonna change too much for Dark, but I think the character that's gonna come with the Exalto weapon can definitely be a big, big addition to Dark. Again, we need an HL unit. We don't need more 5% Akasha buffers. We don't need that. We need an HL unit. Give us like a fucking Zeta or like a fucking Kaguya or like a something, a Vera, a Cosmos, something, bro. Give us something. Like it's crazy. And then, oh my god, I missed this. Party buffing, bro. Dark party buffing is atrocious. Even let's compare it to Wind, right? Cat's buff, we saw the Earth switch, the Earth damage reduction. Let's actually pull it up here. Like just this one character, you get so much defense buff, multi-attack buff, Earth damage lowered, Earth switch, charge bar buff. Um, all this healing and sustain and defense buff, charge bar like on entry or like you're getting all this shit, and then even this shit, he literally has like a mini cleanse on Ogi, and he restores HP. Like he has so much like utility and so much like party buffing. Like even this, like you kind of like get some damage buff and shit. Like this damage buff. Arguably, you could argue the charge bar gain damage buff because you're Ogiing more, and then you have your other units such as Kaguya, right? Where Kaguya you're getting this 30% wind damage one time, and you're I think you get something else on Ogi. Oh yeah, Seer reactivation, right? So you're like you're buffing other units and just yourself versus like Fediel, you Ogi 2 times, no buffs to party. Lich, you Ogi your one time is Lich. Fuck okay, delay, skill cooldown lower. Like you're like these units do not buff each other. And even like this, you could be like, oh, like she's giving the team like light switch and death grace. Like bro, these aren't buffs. These are just like I don't even know what you like their buffs, yeah, like they're like keeping you like sustained and shit, but it's not on the level of like even like what's a better element I can look at? Like fire, right? Like Percival. Percival is giving the fucking oh, wrong Percy. The fucking the damage taken amp. Like this is disgusting. He's debuffing for you. He's fucking giving you what is it, 100% fire attack up and the 30% bonus fire damage. Granted, it is a very long cooldown. Um, but like it does make your team significantly stronger for that turn. Like that is, in my opinion, like invaluable to have. Like Dark doesn't have anything like this. Like Dark does not have units that like buff you crazy, other than Ilsa. And I will give us a pass on that because Ilsa does buff very nicely. Her skill one very strong. But I mean that's literally it. You have like Ilsa one. That's pretty much it. So we need better party buffers, for sure. Um, couldn't tell you what buffs like specifically, but I think that would just depend on the type of units that are being released in the future. So I guess to wrap things up, I love Dark. I'm a Dark main. I've been playing Dark since, I mean, if we go all the way back to the new event that's coming out, right? I've been playing Granblue since fucking what, 20? Does it show? Oh, here we go. Really, 2019. I started this game on my birthday for fun in 2017. Like I made my account, but I really didn't start playing until 2019. But my first unit was fucking Lady Grey, and then going forward from that, um, even if you take this shit like off, right, and then we sort by yeah that first unit with Lady Grey, got Black Knight and Zoe and Dark Jean, and then like Vera. Like I was getting a shit ton of dark units, and I'm like, damn, these girls are cute. Like they're fun to play. I love the enmity playstyle with Zoe. Like I just remember like what Dark used to be for me, and like bro, it's not like that anymore. Like I don't even want Dark to be the best Ellie. I don't care. I just want it to be more satisfying to play. Like going into a raid as a Dark player, like you're just there, and I don't like that feeling. I don't think any other Dark player likes that feeling. Um, to be honest, the only people I see playing Dark are Dark mains. Like we're just there because we're loyal to the element and we've been playing it for a while. So I don't know. I hope to see some change soon with Dark in terms of HL stuff. I think we're pretty squared away in like every other regard of the game. It's just these high level raids where Dark is like not it's not it. But yeah, um, I don't know how to close this out. So you know, we'll be making another video in the future bashing water players. Look forward to that, dude. Water players in Hexa and like in general, bro, biggest inters I've ever met in my life. So stay tuned. No offense to water players, but like all the offense at the same time. But yeah, this has been Aku, and I'm out this bitch. Peace.